Good afternoon. It is time for Coffee on the Coast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host today, Tina Prigge. I am delighted to be joined by Materials Management Librarian Lisa Pike from the award-winning Manitowoc Public Library. Lisa, welcome back to Coffee on the Coast.
Nice to be back, Tina.
It is always so good to see you, especially because we're always talking about something new and exciting. It's amazing. There is always something new developing at the Manitowoc Public Library to keep readers engaged and informed and knowledgeable. I love it. And today is no exception. We are talking about the Read Africa grant. Tell us more what that means for the library.
Right. So UW-Madison campus has been really great with offering some new opportunities for grant funding for the public libraries in the state. One of the previous ones that we applied to was through the Center for East Asian Studies, and we have received a grant to add some East Asian culture and history books to our collection last year. This past April, they came out with another one called the Read Africa program, and this is through their African Studies program at the college. And it also received some additional funding from the U.S. Department of Education. And it also has some ties to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction as well. So it's going to be a great grant.
Yeah, so this is awesome because not only is it encouraging diversity, it allows readers the chance to travel around the world in the time of a pandemic where travel is restricted. And so you get to add some new resources to your collections. I'm just going to pull up a graphic and let's go through some of these cool new books that people should be aware of.
So in the image that's up on the screen now, we were lucky enough that when we submitted our grant application, we had the option to ask for titles for all age ranges. So we will be adding books of adult fiction, teen fiction, and children's middle grade and youth fiction. The few that are on the screen right now, the one on the far left, Quasi, is a graphic novel collection. We will be adding issues 1 through 6 that are collected in 2 volumes. And it talks about a young man who has superhero powers and how he discovers that he does, and whether he's going to put them to the use for the world or just keep them for himself. And then it kind of goes into all these other people that he meets as well. It kind of reminds me of X-Men to some extent, but this has an African culture lilt to it. The one in the middle, let me look at my list here real quick. Last Gay of the Emperor by Kwame Mabalia. That is a sci-fi book for middle graders. And it kind of is a little bit of a spin almost on a kind of the Black Panther universe in the Marvel comics. It kind of reminds me a bit of that. There's a little bit of Afrofuturism in it, as well as the sci-fi. But it's about a young man who likes doing video games online, but he is living in a post-apocalyptic world. And there's a lot of things that all of a sudden happen when he does a change playing the game one day, and he has to kind of discover where he fits in this long forgotten like intergalactic war. It's a really interesting book.
Cool.
And then the one on the very end, Glorious Porridge, that one is a retelling of an Ethiopian folktale by Elizabeth Laird, and it's about a little girl who's making porridge, and she's too hungry, doesn't want to share it with her cat, and then the cat gets into some chaos and the fun ensues from there.
Okay, that's awesome. Are the authors all African or African American, or not necessarily?
I tried my hardest to pick titles that did. All the titles were picked from lists that were provided by the Read Africa program. So the majority of them do have either African/African American authors. There may be a couple that are retold by somebody of another culture, but they did their research and talked with people of that culture in the writing of the material. But I believe the majority of them our own voices, as they were saying.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. And so then all of the stories, all of the books deal with African culture in some way. So what an interesting insight. And did I hear you say Afrofuturism? I've never heard that term
Yes.
before. That's fantastic.
It's kind of a term that was coined, I want to say 60s, 70s. It kind of came about with Octavia Butler's writing. She was one of the first African American women to get into science fiction and made a real big mark on the science fiction genre. So that's, the term relates to science fiction that has African culture involved with it, or has an African/African American writer that is writing about it as well. Some of our newer titles that we have, one of the authors I can think of off the top of my head is N.K. Jemisin. She has a newer series that she has a little bit of an Afrofuturism feel to it that is in our sci-fi section.
I'm so glad you're making us aware of all of these resources. And it's not just those three. I'm going to pull up some more. Let's talk about these cool selections.
So these are some other great options that I was able, the two on the left, I was able to make a suggestion as something that we could purchase with this grant. People that applied for this could make suggestions. They just had to be approved by the program. So the two on the far left there are part of a mystery series by Kwai Corte. And it follows a young woman named Emma Jean, not sure exactly how to pronounce it, unfortunately. But she is a private eye, and it's her taking care of mysteries in, I believe it's Ghana. Let me see here. Yeah, the stories take place in the country of Ghana, which is known as the world's internet capital. And unfortunately, a lot of con men and scam artists tend to work there because of that. So that comes in a bit in the first book called The Missing American. That is her first missing persons case, and it has to do with like an internet scam and an American that gets roped into it. The second book that just came out, I believe it was this past year, earlier this year, Sleep Well, My Lady, is a follow-up to The Missing American. And in that, she's investigating the death of a Ghanaian fashion icon and a social media celebrity and trying to figure out who would have wanted to murder her.
How interesting. So is it a series that you like need to read in order, or could you pick them up? Does Sleep Well, My Lady depend on having read The Missing American first, do you think?
I don't believe that it does. The stories themselves sound like they're separate. The only thing I would say is if you want the character development arc, you might want to start with the first one.
Because she is the same.
Probably grows a bit as a character.
Yeah. So is it almost like a Nancy Drew, like where it's this girl that.
I believe she's supposed to be like in her 20s, maybe early 30s. She's not very old from what I gathered. But they have really good reviews. The very first book actually was a nominee for the Edgar Awards, which is the major mystery award that's given every year for the best books. So.
Wow. And did you say that?
To look forward to.
Did you say Ghana is the internet capital of the world?
Yep.
I didn't know that. That's so interesting.
Surprisingly enough, me either. So I was researching these different titles to try to make some good selections.
So not only is it entertaining, it is also informative and educational.
Definitely sounded like it.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to reading it myself once they come in.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us then, is this a children's book on the right, the one plastic bag?
Yes, the one on the far right is actually based on a true story. It's about a woman that saw a problem in her community and decided to do something about it. What was happening was there was a lot of plastic bag refuse that it wasn't getting recycled. It was just accumulating. It was causing mosquitoes and disease and all kinds of issues in her community. And they didn't necessarily have money to help solve the problem. So this woman called Isatu Cisse, she found a way to recycle the bags and help transform her community by doing as much. So this
Wow.
book talks about her and what they came to be known as the women of Gambia. I can't talk today.
Wow,
So
that sounds
those
like a powerful story. And I love the graphics. The illustrations really look unique too.
Yep, as far as I know with that book, there is a lot of incorporation of traditional African textiles and illustrations, so the kids kind of get an idea of what that looks like, besides the environmental message as well.
I have a feeling that that's a book that shouldn't necessarily just be reserved for kids, right? Like adults should not
Oh,
hesitate to check
definitely.
out a book like that and read it.
Yep. Uh, we're always reading youth and teen books ourselves.
Nice. Yeah, good to know. Okay, so let's talk about these. Okay, usually I'm terrified of spiders, but I love the illustration on this book on the left, and the title too sounds so cute. This Gizo Gizo.
Yep, it's Gizo Gizo, A Tale from the Zongo Lagoon. And this is actually another environmental type story with a lesson kind of tied to it. Um, this one was actually a winner of the Children's Africana Book Award for Best Book for Young Readers one year. Um, but what it is Gizo Gizo is the name of a spider, and he's a very lazy and selfish fellow. And he decides to start a gold mine, and while he's mining, ends up polluting the lagoon, and it starts making all the other animals sick. And naturally, he ignores everyone because he wants to do what he wants to do. And then it gets to the point when the fish start to get sick and the frogs start to get sick. There's a couple other characters called Tortoise and Crab who decide that things have gone too far. They need to come up with a plan to teach him a lesson. So this story is also a folk tale retelling, basically.
It sounds fantastic, and it sounds like the timing is perfect. Definitely we want to share that messaging and that story with kids. Not just kids, really everybody should be paying attention to that
Yep,
messaging, I think.
exactly. But yeah, it's a neat book. It was actually written by a group of students from Cape Coast, Ghana. They are the ones that came up with the story and did the writing for it. And then it has all kinds of colorful illustrations, and also uses a lot of words and phrases from their native language as well. So
Oh, cool. Is
very
it a
informative.
relatively recent book?
Um, I believe it was 20. It won the book award in 2017, so fairly recent.
Cool. And are these all in the collection right now, or are these going to be coming to the collection?
They're going to be coming.
Okay.
We received notice that we had gotten the full funding we had asked for back in May, and now it's a matter of me going through and making sure we can get every single title requested. These particular ones I know are available, but sometimes when you look up things to purchase for these grants, they're available at the time you're doing the grant, but then when it comes time to buy it, it's gone out of print or isn't as easy to come by. So we're hoping to have these, at least some of these in the collection by the end of this month. All of them should be in the collection by end of September.
Okay, viewers. So if you're interested in any of these titles, end of September is a good time to target. You can always call the library and a librarian can verify for you. Also, Patty Hoffman just texted in, and her question is there a hard copy of this list that someone can pick up at the library, or is there online access to this list?
Not yet, but I can make one and have it available up in the youth department and
Okay.
downstairs for that matter, since it's for all ages.
That's an awesome question, Patty. Thanks so much for asking that question. All right, so there was another book on this slide, The Deep Blue Between.
Okay. So this is one of the teen fiction titles we were able to select for this particular grant. It follows twin sisters who survive a brutal war raid in their home country. But what happens is they end up getting separated and they end up taking up residence in unfamiliar cities and cultures. And they have to forge a new life with new families. It sounds like they get taken in as refugees. And then one ends up in Brazil and the other ends up on the Gold Coast in West Africa. So it's about them starting their new lives, but also trying to keep their connection. Um, and then the story kind of goes from there. And it's kind of a matter of, are they going to get to see each other again? Or are they going to stay separated for the rest of their lives? But it's very much an emotional, kind of dramatic read, put it that way.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. You know, the thought of being separated from somebody you love because of war and then it's completely out of your control. Wow, that sounds really powerful. Okay, Lisa, you've got a couple more choices here. No.
I'm just trying to think what's next.
Let's start with the one on the right. The one on the right is listed as a musical picture book. I'm super intrigued. It's called Songs in the Shade of the Cashew and Coconut Trees. Tell me more.
So this is kind of on the idea of our book and CD kits. When we do receive this in the library, it will be made into a book kit, basically, upstairs in the children's room. The main difference with this one is it's a music CD rather than a audiobook CD. So this book goes into an array of musical styles that are part of the African culture. It has nursery rhymes from Gabon, lullabies from Cape Verde, and rumbas from the Congo, and all kinds of different music. And the music CD accompanies the book, talking about these different forms of music. The songs are all sung by Native people, men, women, and children, depending on the songs. And in I think it's over a dozen languages as well. So it's really interesting book to get a hold of. There's plenty of African artwork throughout it, and it even showcases a lot of the homegrown instruments they use, such as the djembe and the hula flute and all kinds of other things. So it's a real like encompassment of culture.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
So that was another book that it was a winner of the 2020 Children's Africana Book Awards. So another one that was a winner for a best book for young readers.
Oh, that is so cool. So I've got a quick question. So you mentioned like that book would be in the youth department. So all of these books aren't going to be on one shelf in one area. They'll be interspersed according to their subject matter or audience.
Well, typically when we get brand new books, they'll be put on our new shelves I think we typically try to keep them out about 5-6 months period. So the new adult books should be down on the new adult shelves right when you come through our main front doors. But they will be interspersed with all the other new titles, basically. And then we also have a new section in the YA area where the new YA ones will go. And same thing for the youth books as well.
Okay, awesome. Cool. And so you've got 2 more books here. Let's talk about them. Let's start with A Spy in Time.
So Spy in Time is actually another science fiction novel. This one was a finalist for the 2019 Campbell Memorial Award for Best Science Fiction Novel. And this follows a agency newest recruit that is a time leaper, basically. It takes place in the city of Johannesburg in South Africa. And it's another like post-apocalyptic type sci-fi book. And in this one, they've been mining tunnels underneath the ground because of the apocalypse that happened. But this agency that the main character works for, they have all these machines that give them different time periods that they might be able to jump back to prevent this apocalypse. So this new recruit, his first mission brings him back to 1955 Marrakesh. And the mission is basically to prevent the apocalypse in the future.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder how they know what to do. You know, like it's not usually just one event, is it? Or exactly. Like one person so
I'm guessing there's a little bit of a butterfly effect type thing going on, would be my guess.
It kind of reminds me, there's a new series out called Loki, and there's like a whole, what have you seen it? What is it called? the
The missed
time,
time, I think, or missed minutes, or
something. Yeah, yeah. It just kind of
my
reminded me of
friends have
that.
talked about it. I've yet to see it myself. But
Awesome. Cool. All right. And then let's talk about bird summons.
okay, so the one in the center, we're gonna actually be getting the print book version as well as audiobook on CD version of it. And this is very much a women's fiction title. It follows three different women at different points during their lives. They're all having their struggles. There's one woman that is trying to fit in living in Britain. There's another that has given up her career and is being made to move to Saudi Arabia. And there's a third one that she just feels kind of burdened. She's on her third marriage and she just doesn't know what to do anymore. Um, but all three of them end up going on a road trip in the Scottish Highlands, and they end up taking basically kind of like a journey, like a quest together, and it helps them come to the answers to the questions that they have, and they all grow because of it, and make us cement their relationship basically. So very much a woman's fiction title.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I have to admit, I do love that kind of story. So, did you say they all come together because they've gone to the Highlands, or they knew each other first?
From what I can tell, it sounds like they were friends maybe in college or something and kind of dispersed because of marriage or work and decided to get back together again and kind of reconnect, I guess you could say.
Very cool. Oh, I definitely want to check that one out. Wow, Lisa, this has been so interesting. Well, congratulations on getting the grant. Thank you for pursuing grants like that that make this a better place with access to information. So, viewers, you said, by the end of September, you're hoping to have all of these items in the collection based on their availability. Very cool. Viewers, if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out to your librarians. They are super helpful, super knowledgeable, and they definitely want you to get access to what you're looking for. Lisa, I appreciate what you do and what everyone at the Manitowoc Public Library does. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, you've been watching Coffee on the Coast. This has been Lisa Pike with the Manitowoc Public Library. I was your host today, Tina Prigge, and we will see you next time. Take care, everyone.